For my fifth stealth shelter, I've laid out all these palm branches, and I'm going to build a teepee here. So here we have tied our branches together, and there they all lie with their feet together. So now let's try and lift this whole thing and then spread these branches out. So here we have the beautiful start to a teepee. It is early in the morning here. I had a lovely night's sleep. I had to clear the area of snails because I had to chuck about 30 snails away and kill one centipede, which I cut in half, and the front half kept walking towards me. I had to cut that in half a few times more. But anyway, it was a delightful night's sleep. I was disappointed that there was no, I wasn't able to see the stars, because I do love to see the stars during stealth camping. It's almost like a balm for the mind when you can be in nature. I suppose it's why people fish. They just like looking at the sea or the river. I do like seeing the stars, so it's always a bit of a disappointment when I cannot see the stars. But, you know, talking of stars reminds me, I was a teacher for 46 years, and I remember one very good lesson that I had with a group of grade 8s. These are about 13-year-olds. And it was a natural science or general science lesson called Earth and Beyond, where you could choose any kind of astronomical topic you wanted. And I was teaching at an IB school, which is a non-government school, so we had freedom to choose whatever we wanted to teach. So I got hold of a star chart, which is something that looks like this. It gives all the constellations that you're going to see in the night sky that night. And what made this lesson memorable was I wanted to see if I could get the learners to remember the whole star chart in one lesson. And I thought, that's impossible to do, but let's see how far we get. So what was amazing was we took all the constellations that were in the sky that night, and working with the class, I showed them how to make mnemonics, whereby you link all the constellations together into a story. And then that helps you to remember the names of all the constellations. And what amazed me was in that 45-minute period, these 13-year-olds, most of them learned at least 10 to 15 of the constellations on the star chart in one lesson. And some of them learned all 30 of the constellations. And that just blew me away. And it was so interesting because I passed most of my university on making these mnemonics, which is ways of remembering stuff, sort of unrelated stuff. And so I was showing them how to do mnemonics. I was teaching them the night sky, hoping they'd go home and have a look at all these constellations. But at the same time, I was showing them how unlimited the mind is, that you can learn 30 constellations in 45 minutes. So I thought, hey, I don't believe that as you get older, your memory gets worse. So I thought, well, let's download a sky chart for where I live. And so I made this mnemonic. Can Karina cross 100 scorpions to acquire milk and cigarettes? Square pegs, pike, eerie columns. Now that's a mnemonic. It's a kind of a story that I can remember in my mind, and it's reminding me of the following constellations as you go around looking at the horizon, north, south, east, west. And these are the constellations you're going to see just above the horizon. And that's how, after a few minutes of trying to memorize these constellations, so it started with Can Carina, that's Canopus Carina, these are stars or constellation. Southern Cross, Centaurus, 100, Scorpion, Scorpius, to acquire Aquila, the constellation, to acquire milk, Milky Way, and cigarette, Cygnus, that's another constellation. Then square, there's a square in Pegasus, the constellation of Pegasus. Square pegs pike, Pisces, pike Erie, Eridanus, columns, columna. So these are the constellations that if I look, and I wanted to look last night, but unfortunately the sky clouded up, so I wasn't able to see these constellations. And some like the Southern Cross, they look like a cross, so they're easy to spot. Cygnus means swan, so it's 4 stars arranged in a northern cross, they call it, like with a long neck, like a swan has, where one star is sort of like a cross, but with extended away from the other 3. And so, yeah, I mean, isn't it just amazing that you can ask a group, and almost all the kids did well. And you know what was so nice also about it was they helped make up the mnemonics, so they learned how to do mnemonics. And then I got them one by one to volunteer and stand with their back to the board and recite the mnemonic, which helped them remember all the constellations. And we would clap them, and we started, and we found that as the lesson went on, so this person would come with their back to the board, they would recite as I've done. And because it's repeating, by the end of the lesson, some of the brighter kids were able to obviously be learning from the first people who did it, and then went on to all 30 constellations on the chart. Wow. In one lesson, they learned all the constellations in the sky. And I thought, well, at least that's going to help them to go and, if they have that interest, it's a start towards learning all the stars in the Milky Way. So it was like a memorable lesson to, and I remember it from, that lesson must have occurred at least 15 years ago, but I still remember clearly that lesson because of my amazement at when you push people, they are able to do absolutely amazing things. So, you know, as I say, if you think of just news and newspapers and human activities and social media and everything, it can be disquieting. But when you're in nature, I mean, it is absolutely quiet here. There were guinea fowls cackling during the night, and it got a bit annoying. They just went on and on and on. Those are kind of like a pheasant bird. Thankfully, they shut up now. But it is just so beautiful. And I did take a glimpse of the, what is it? It's a waning gibbous moon, but the sky has been mostly overcast, but not rainy. It's going to get, and it's no wind at the moment, but it's going to get progressively more windy, and 25% chance of rain this following night. So I have to take that into account when I build my next stealth shelter. So this teepee stealth shelter has been great during the day, fine for at night. And yeah, thanks for watching, and we hope that you'll see our next stealth shelter, which will be tomorrow night.